alias El Tuli. Right now, he's trying to run. El Tuli had put a $1,200 bounty on the head of every single Mexican soldier in the country.
There he was coordinating roadblocks, burning vehicles, attacks on military installations, the National Guard, businesses, government facilities, etc. And he also offered 20,000 pesos for each soldier who would kill all the personnel of this criminal group.
Approximately 2 p.m. A small town called El Grullo, Jalisco, 180 kilometers southwest of Guadalajara. A black SUV is speeding through the streets. The driver knows the military helicopters just arrived. He knows what that means. He's been on the phone all morning running one of the most coordinated acts of cartel retaliation in Mexican history. He built CJNG's financial empire. He managed El Menchos' money, his weapons, his logistics, his entire operation. He was the one man in the organization that El Mencho trusted above everyone else. And right now he's trying to run. The vehicle accelerates. The Special Forces unit moves to intercept. The man inside opens fire on the soldiers. The soldiers fire back. And Hugo Cesar Macias Ureña, alias El Tuli, the right-hand man of the most feared drug lord in the Western Hemisphere, dies on a road in El Grullo with a bullet in him, and nearly $1 million in American cash still sitting in the car. He couldn't drive fast enough. But here's the part that makes this story absolutely wild. In the hours before those soldiers showed up, in the hours after his boss El Mencho was shot and killed that same morning by the Mexican military, El Tuli had put a $1,200 bounty on the head of every single Mexican soldier in the country, every last one. He was openly paying cash to any CJNG member who killed military personnel, coordinating 250 highway blockades across 20 states simultaneously, directing cartel attacks on National Guard bases, and personally managing the most chaotic wave of organized violence Mexico had seen in years. All of it from a single command post in El Grullo. All of it on the same day his boss died. All of it in the last few hours of his life. This is the story of the final 24 hours of El Tuli. What he did, how he moved, and how the Mexican military tracked him down on the same day they killed El Mencho. Let's get into it. El Tuli wasn't the kind of CJNG figure who showed up in the news regularly. He wasn't making public statements. He wasn't getting filmed at parties. He wasn't the face of anything. He was the engine behind the face, the operator who made sure the largest criminal organization in Mexico actually functioned day to day. And that kind of person, in any organization, is often more valuable than the person at the top. El Mencho was the symbol. El Tuli was the machine. Mexico's Defense Secretary General Ricardo Trevilla Trejo described him at a presidential press conference as CJNG's logistics and financial operator and El Mencho's main confidant. But that description undersells it. The leaked Guacamaya documents, military intelligence files that got exposed publicly, placed Macias Ureña as one of the closest operational commanders to El Mencho's inner circle. He ran his own network of sub-commanders. He controlled hitman cells. He managed weapons procurement. He personally oversaw the tactical training of CJNG recruits. And when El Mencho disappeared into his mountain hideout in Jalisco and went full ghost for years, El Tuli kept the organization running in the outside world. The two men had narco corridos written about their relationship. In one of the most well-known, Martín Castillo's El Tulipan, the lyrics describe El Tuli as a very trusted compadre for that Lord of the Roosters. Through thick and thin, they have never let him down. And in the worst battles, they always come out winning. The song pointedly does not say what El Tuli does for a living. I don't want any misunderstandings, but makes clear he loved El Mencho's sons like family. That's the level of personal trust we're talking about. Not just a business relationship, a compadre relationship, the deepest level of loyalty that exists in Mexican culture. So when the Mexican military came for El Mencho on the morning of February 22nd, 2026, they weren't just coming for one man. They were putting in motion a chain of events that would end with El Tuli dead before the sun went down that same day. To understand how all of that went down, we gotta go back to the night before it started. Let's rewind to the period when El Tuli was building his reputation inside CJNG. Hugo Cesar Macias Ureña came up during CJNG's expansion phase in western Mexico. This was the window, roughly 2012 through 2018, when CJNG went from a Jalisco-based organization to a nationwide force with operations in every corner of the country. El Mencho was driving that expansion hard. And to do it, he needed commanders who could build and lead mobile, heavily armed cells that could move into new territory fast and hold it. El Tuli was part of what authorities later described as CJNG's second operational line, the layer of commanders just below the top leadership, the people who actually execute the strategy on the ground. While El Mencho stayed increasingly hidden and protected, men like El Tuli were the ones holding meetings, managing recruits, moving money, and coordinating attacks. Three things made El Tuli stand out. First was his ability to recruit. CJNG under El Mencho wasn't just looking for people who would pull a trigger. They were building a paramilitary force, which meant they needed people who could identify talent, screen for loyalty, and train new members in tactical weapons operation. El Tuli was running that pipeline. When federal investigators arrested cartel members across different operations during this period, multiple detainees independently named El Tuli as their direct commander. That kind of consistent identification across unrelated arrests tells you how wide his reach was. Second was his control of hitman cells, the CJNG shock troops, the heavily armed mobile units that showed up to enforce the cartel's will in contested territory. El Tuli directed these cells tactically. He was the one who approved operations, allocated resources, and gave the green light for attacks. Third was the money. El Mencho built a $50 billion criminal empire, but empires need accountants. El Tuli managed the financial flows, drug money coming in, weapons procurement going out, payroll for thousands of cartel members across multiple states, bribes to officials, payments to local informants. He was the CFO of one of the most profitable criminal organizations on earth. One of the cases that first put El Tuli clearly on the federal radar happened in 2018, when authorities arrested a sicario named Juan Francisco Aguilar Santana, known in the cartel as Juan Pistolas. When investigators interrogated Juan Pistolas, he described operating inside a cell that ran directly under El Tuli's command, alongside another operator named Juan Carlos Gonzalez, known as El Pelon, who was himself described as one of El Mencho's close personal collaborators. That arrest and interrogation gave Mexican intelligence their clearest picture yet of El Tuli's role and his position in the hierarchy. But here's where it gets crazy. Even with all of that documented, even with his name in leaked military intelligence files, El Tuli never got taken off the streets. He was operating with the same impunity that CJNG had spent a decade building for itself. The organization was simply too deeply embedded in Jalisco and the surrounding states for federal authorities to move against commanders like El Tuli without triggering exactly the kind of catastrophic retaliation they were afraid of. So he kept running his network. He kept managing El Mencho's logistics. He kept building the machine. All of that was about to matter on a Sunday morning in February 2026. Saturday, February 21st, 2026. El Tuli is at his operational base in El Grullo, Jalisco. It's been a normal week, or as normal as a week gets when you're running logistics for the world's most wanted drug lord. What El Tuli doesn't know is that the Mexican military has already been watching the Talpa Country Club for 48 hours. They tracked El Mencho there through surveillance of a romantic partner. A woman who was escorted to Talpa on February 20th by a trusted CJNG associate. She met with El Mencho at his 2-story stone cabin inside the gated resort complex. She left on February 21st. El Mencho stayed. And the moment she cleared the area, Special Forces units that had been staging in neighboring states quietly began their approach toward Talpa. El Tuli's intelligence network is picking up some signals. Military overflights over Talpa. Unusual military convoy movement. These things get flagged and sent up the chain. But nobody on the cartel side knows the full picture. Nobody knows the military has already confirmed El Mencho's exact location and is finalizing raid plans that same night. El Tuli probably goes to sleep on the night of February 21st, not knowing his boss has hours left to live. Approximately 4:30 a.m., the pre-dawn raid begins at Talpa. Special Forces, backed by the National Guard and 6 military helicopters, sealed off the Talpa Country Club before dawn. Ground teams established a perimeter around the compound before the first shots were fired. When the soldiers advanced on the property, El Mencho's security detail opened up with everything they had: machine guns, high-caliber rifles, and rocket-propelled grenades. A witness staying at the resort told AFP that the sound was terrifying. Machine guns firing from the ground into the air and from the air back down, starting at dawn and escalating for what felt like a couple of hours. El Mencho and his inner circle tried to run. They fled the main compound into a wooded area on the outskirts of Talpa, dotted with cabins. Special Forces teams split off and pursued them through the trees. A second firefight erupted in the brush. During that exchange, cartel gunmen managed to hit a military helicopter providing aerial support, forcing it to make an emergency landing in the nearby town of Sayula. Even in his final moments, CJNG was shooting down military aircraft, the same play they ran in 2015 when they downed a helicopter with an RPG. But this time it wasn't enough. Special Forces found El Mencho hiding in the undergrowth. He was shot. 2 bodyguards were shot alongside him. Military medics determined all 3 were in critical condition and needed immediate helicopter evacuation. About 5:30 to 6 a.m., word reaches El Tuli. CJNG's emergency communications network activates the second the firefight starts. El Tuli gets the call. His boss is under military assault right now. The entire organization is looking to him. He doesn't wait for more information. He starts activating cells. About 6:30 to 7 a.m., El Mencho is evacuated. El Tuli takes command. El Mencho and his 2 wounded bodyguards are loaded onto a military helicopter. But here's what El Tuli learns in real time. The military diverts the helicopter away from Guadalajara, because by this point, Jalisco is already responding to his activation orders, and the streets of Guadalajara are starting to show the first signs of cartel retaliation. The helicopter routes instead to Morelia Airport, where an Air Force transport is standing by to take the bodies to Mexico City. The bodies. El Mencho died on that helicopter, shot in a forest in the mountains of Jalisco, while trying to run from soldiers, loaded onto the military's own aircraft, bled out at altitude on the way to the hospital they never reached. The most feared man in Mexico, dead before the morning is over. El Tuli, still alive, still operational in El Grullo, is now running CJNG. And the cartel world, the military, the entire country is watching what he does next. About 7 a.m., El Tuli puts a price on every soldier's head. From his command post in El Grullo, El Tuli does something that makes every military official in Mexico take notice. He announces a bounty, 20,000 Mexican pesos, roughly $1,200 for every member of the Mexican military or National Guard killed by CJNG, every single one. The bounty is not a rumor. It is confirmed by Mexico's Security Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch at the presidential press conference the following day, stated publicly as a verified fact from military intelligence. No cap. El Tuli is paying 1,200 American dollars per dead soldier in real time to any CJNG member anywhere in the country who can collect. He is simultaneously coordinating the blockades, highway after highway across Jalisco, then neighboring states, then further, roadblocks reported in Michoacán, Guanajuato, Colima, Tamaulipas, Aguascalientes, Zacatecas, Sinaloa. By mid-morning, security forces are counting 250 active blockades across 20 states, every one of them traced back to orders flowing from El Grullo. Trucks, buses, and private cars hijacked, set on fire, dragged across federal highways, gas stations burning, banks burning, more than 200 OXXO convenience stores attacked, 50 government bank branches destroyed. Guadalajara, Mexico's second-largest city, scheduled to host FIFA World Cup matches in just months, turns into a ghost town. Residents lock their doors. Airlines cancel flights to Puerto Vallarta. Tourists film smoke rising over the city from their hotel windows. Air Canada suspends service to Jalisco entirely. And El Tuli is in El Grullo, running all of it. About 8:30 to 9 a.m. The National Guard starts taking casualties. This is where the bounty starts paying out in blood. 25 National Guard members are killed across Jalisco in 6 separate attacks. One of them, Captain Leonel Cardoso Gomez, is assassinated by a car bomb. Coordinated ambushes hitting security forces across multiple points in the state simultaneously. This is not random cartel violence. This is a structured military-style counter-operation, directed in real time by El Tuli, with the bounty system creating financial incentive on top of organizational loyalty. He's also managing a prison break. A jail in Jalisco is attacked by cartel-aligned groups in a coordinated assault, and at least 23 prisoners escape during the chaos El Tuli helped engineer. This man is running a national military counter-operation from a small town in southern Jalisco, directing attacks on multiple targets simultaneously, managing a bounty payment system, overseeing highway blockades across 20 states, and coordinating a prison break. All at the same time. All on the day his boss just died. About 10 to 11 a.m. Military intelligence locks onto El Grullo. Here's what El Tuli doesn't realize. The same intelligence infrastructure that found El Mencho by tracking his romantic partner's associate is now tracking CJNG's command and control response in real time. Military intelligence analysts can see the network. They can see where the orders are originating. And every signal keeps coming back to the same location, El Grullo. General Trevilla later confirmed it at the presidential press conference. Military intelligence identified El Tuli's position in El Grullo. He was too active. He was too visible. He was doing exactly what a CFO turned acting CEO does when a company loses its founder unexpectedly. He stepped in, he took control, he kept everything moving. And in doing so, he lit up the military's intelligence picture like a lighthouse. The Paratrooper Rifle Brigade, the same elite Special Forces airmobile unit that ran the Talpa raid before dawn, is given a new target, El Grullo, Jalisco. Helicopters rotate, refuel, get airborne again, heading southwest, 180 kilometers from where they killed El Mencho this morning. About 12 p.m., El Tuli's last hours as a free man. The blockades are still burning. The bounties are still being paid. El Tuli is still on communications. He may have heard by now that the military is moving again, that the same unit that killed his boss is being redeployed. Or he may not have. The cartel's intelligence network, no matter how good, was running in the middle of its own self-generated chaos. The blockades, the fires, the attacks, all of that was disrupting communication and movement across Jalisco, as much as it was disrupting the governments. What we do know is that El Tuli did not leave El Grullo. He stayed at his post. He kept working. The narco corrido about him says he faced situations that put him very close to death several times. That he had previously been taken prisoner but never gave up his bosses, never accepted the serious charges they tried to give him. He had faced the heat before and walked through it. This time was different. Approximately 1:30 to 2 p.m., the special forces arrive. The airmobile unit comes in by helicopter. El Grullo is a small town. There's no hiding a military helicopter unit touching down. When the soldiers move to intercept and arrest Hugo Cesar Macias Ureña, El Tuli sees it happening and makes his decision. He runs. He gets in a vehicle and accelerates. He opens fire on the soldiers moving to stop him. And the soldiers, the same paratrooper rifle brigade that had already killed 8 cartel members in Talpa that morning, fire back. About 2 to 2:30 p.m., El Tuli is killed. Hugo Cesar Macias Ureña is shot and killed on a road in El Grullo, Jalisco. The vehicle is stopped. The military secures the scene. And what he was doing in his final hours. A long-barreled rifle, a handgun, extra magazines and cartridges, 7.2 million Mexican pesos in cash, and 965,000 American dollars. Nearly $1 million in U.S. currency. In the getaway car. El Tuli, El Menchos' main confidant, CJNG's logistics chief, the man who had been running the most powerful drug cartel on Earth for the last several hours, died broke on a road in El Grullo, with money he never got far enough to use. But the story doesn't end there. Within hours of El Tuli's death becoming public, the retaliation that he'd been coordinating started losing steam. That's the thing about a 250 blockade 20-state operation. It needs active command and control to sustain. When El Tuli went down, the coordination collapsed. The individual cells kept doing what they were already doing in the immediate term, but the central nervous system that was directing and expanding the response was gone. Military intelligence had decapitated CJNG twice in the same day. The symbolic leader in Talpa, the operational backbone in El Grullo. By the morning of February 23rd, most of the roadblocks had been cleared. The federal government deployed 2,500 additional Special Forces troops, on top of the 7,000 already stationed in Jalisco, bringing the total to nearly 10,000 military personnel in a single state. The Jalisco governor declared a code red. Schools across multiple states canceled classes for Monday. Airlines slowly resumed service. Mexico's Defense Secretary Trevilla Trejo confirmed both deaths at the presidential press conference. He walked through the entire operation, Talpa at dawn, El Grullo in the afternoon, and laid out exactly what had been seized. At Talpa, armored vehicles, 2 rocket launchers, high-caliber weapons, and ammunition. At El Grullo, nearly $1.4 million in combined Mexican and American currency, multiple firearms, and the vehicle El Tuli tried to escape in. The assets were transferred to the Attorney General's Office for Financial Tracing. Investigators began pulling the threads. Every account, every financial network, every shell company that ran through El Tuli's operation. Because killing El Tuli wasn't just about removing a commander. It was about cutting off the financial plumbing of a $50 billion criminal empire at the junction where it was most exposed. President Claudia Sheinbaum went on record confirming the U.S. provided intelligence support for the overall operation. Specifically, the intelligence that confirmed El Menchos' location and the tracking infrastructure that enabled real-time monitoring of CJNG's response. The Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel, which had been working with Mexican forces for years, that means American intelligence was watching El Tuli's command activity in real time as he directed the retaliation from El Grullo. And that information was flowing back to the Mexican military as they decided whether to go after him the same day. On the streets, the immediate reaction from CJNG members across the country was a mix of grief, anger, and confusion. Two of the most important people in the organization, gone within hours of each other. The boss and the man who ran the operation for the boss, gone. Nobody had ever seen CJNG take a hit like that in its entire history. Every regional commander was now looking at the power structure above them and calculating what this meant for their own position. The answer to that question, who runs CJNG now, remains actively dangerous. El Mencho's son, El Menchito, is serving life in a U.S. federal prison. His wife, Rosalinda Gonzalez, was previously arrested. His brothers are either arrested or dead. His stepson, Juan Carlos Gonzalez Valencia, has been mentioned by analysts as a possible contender, but he has nowhere near the organizational authority that El Mencho built over 15 years. El Tuli was the man who could have potentially managed a transition. He had the relationships, the financial control, and the operational reach. With him gone the same day as El Mencho, CJNG has no clear succession path. Security experts are already warning about what that means. When a cartel splinters, it doesn't just become less dangerous, it often becomes more dangerous because multiple factions compete violently for control, and nobody has the authority to prevent the internal war from spilling over into civilian life. This is exactly what happened after previous cartel decapitations in Mexico's history. The Milenio cartel collapse in 2009 that created CJNG in the first place being the most direct example. El Tuli was, in a dark way, a stabilizing force. His death removed the most capable person available to hold CJNG together. In the weeks after El Mencho's killing, and in that vacuum, anything can happen. El Tuli's story, when you strip it down to its core, is the story of what loyalty actually costs in the cartel world. He was El Mencho's compadre. He loved El Mencho's sons. He built the financial machine that made CJNG's empire run. He stayed loyal through every operation, every arrest of cartel members around him, every period when other men might have looked for a way out or a way up. When El Mencho disappeared into the mountains and became a ghost, El Tuli kept the lights on. And when El Mencho died, in the same morning, hours before the sun was at its highest, El Tuli didn't run, didn't go quiet, didn't try to protect himself. He went to work. He activated the retaliation. He put bounties on soldiers' heads. He tried to burn the country down in response to what the military did to his boss. And that loyalty got him killed. Because the same thing that made El Tuli indispensable, the fact that he was always in motion, always coordinating, always managing the machine, is exactly what lit him up for military intelligence. In a criminal organization, the most valuable person is often the most exposed. El Mencho could disappear because he didn't have to do anything. El Tuli couldn't disappear because the whole organization depended on him doing everything. He was too necessary to stay hidden. That necessity became the thing that ended him. The military's precision on this day deserves recognition in the context of what it means going forward. In the 2015 CJNG operation in Villa Purificación, when the cartel shot down a military helicopter, the Mexican government's response was chaotic and prolonged. Violence dragged on for weeks. The cartel demonstrated the government had no quick answer to their retaliatory infrastructure. February 22, 2026 was different. The military killed El Mencho before dawn, identified El Tuli's command position in El Grullo by mid-morning, deployed an airmobile unit, had El Tuli dead before the afternoon was over. And within 48 hours, the roadblocks were cleared and the retaliation had burned itself out. That is a fundamentally different level of operational sophistication than anything Mexico's military had demonstrated in the decade before. American intelligence support mattered, but so did the years of investment in building the Paratrooper Rifle Brigade into a unit capable of running two major operations in the same day across 180 kilometers of distance. El Tuli died with nearly $1 million in American currency in his vehicle. That detail is worth sitting with, not because it's dramatic, although it is, but because it shows you what CJNG's financial operation actually looked like at the operational level. A commander keeping nearly $1 million in cash on hand to run immediate operations. That's not savings, that's working capital. That's what it costs to run a national criminal enterprise in real time. The money was seized. The man was gone. And the empire he helped build is now leaderless, fragmented, and fighting itself. Whatever CJNG becomes next, whatever emerges from the power vacuum that El Menchos' death and El Tuli's death created on the same Sunday, it will not be what El Mencho built. El Mencho built CJNG over 15 years with El Tuli running the machine beside him. Nobody left standing has the combination of personal authority and operational capability that those two men held together. The final 24 hours of El Tuli ended on a road in El Grullo, Jalisco, with a bullet and nearly $1 million in a car that didn't go far enough. But the story of what his death means for Mexico, for CJNG, for the drug war, for every cartel leader watching what happened to the most capable man in the most powerful organization in the country. That story is just getting started. There's a line in the narco corrido Martin Castillo wrote about El Tuli. In the worst battles, they have always come out on top. For years, that was true. El Tuli survived raids, arrests of his subordinates, leaked intelligence files, years of federal investigations. He came out on top every time, until February 22nd, 2026, when the worst battle finally found him in El Grullo. And this time, there was no coming out on top. He put $1,200 on the head of every soldier in Mexico. The soldiers found him first. That's how El Tuli's chapter ended, and why the one that follows it for CJNG is going to be one of the most violent in the cartel's entire history.